So what do I sacrifice? Everything! Just stay with me, Lonnie. I need all the heroes I can get.
Welcome back to WD Magiccast for the week of November 27th, 2022. This is episode 205. WD Magiccast, the show about the mouse, the Marvels, the galaxy, and beyond. I'm your host, Matthew Gracon. In this week's show, Dave and I will discuss Andor, the series that just wrapped up on Disney+. And, speaking of which, I have a survey about Andor. And what did you think? What did the people say about Andor? And this could be found on our Twitter handle at WD Magiccast. So, simply put, now that we've seen all of Andor Season 1, what are your thoughts of this Disney Plus show? And the options were amazing, good, I enjoyed it, could have been better, or wasn't able to finish it. And out of those who answered, now granted, I do know personally some people who have not been able to finish it yet, but there's hope. There's always hope, and that's what Star Wars is about. But of those who answered, I don't have to break this down. Because, and I don't think this has ever really happened before, I think this is a first, folks, 100%. 100%. That's everyone who voted. All said, this was amazing. Absolutely amazing. And I will not spoil this for you. You will have to wait to see what Dave and I have to say after these words from our friends and sponsors.
Hello there, Disney Marvels podcast friends. This is Anthony King, host of the new podcast, Force Ghost Conversations. Each week, this show will be your home for cozy, deep dive discussions into all things Star Wars. We will break down the latest news, announcements, movies, TV shows, comics, books, and everything else in a galaxy far, far away. We can be found on every major podcast listening site, and you can also join the conversation with us via Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Just search Force Ghost Conversations. We look forward to having you join us around the campfire then for some Force Ghost conversations, and may the Force be with you.
And now, on with the show. Coming off an impressive and unprecedented high praise and reviews, the Andor series finally comes to a conclusion with episode 12. And it's been one that's been highly talked about for many multiple reasons, which you may or may not get into. We first gave you our initial impressions back on episode 195. And to continue this, Dave has joined me again. Isaac cannot make it, unfortunately, to continue the grand discussion. But Dave is here to finish up our discussion on what did we think of Andor. It's not even Star Wars Andor. It's just Andor. Andor. Cassian Andor's series. First of 2 seasons. And definitely a lot to talk about, I think. What do you think, Dave?
Well, thank you for having me again. And yes, this has been an interesting series. It was one that I think we originally said before the series dropped was how was this going to play out without the main Skywalker people in it. So overall, I think it played out well. I was very happy with it, but it was definitely, I could see where people were complaining about certain ebbs and flows of the series in itself. But I think the writing was the strong part of the show and kept you into it over the course of the 12 episodes.
Yeah, the writing is the writing. You can't fault the writing, but
No.
I think they focused more on that than it's than the action, which is not your typical Star Wars. Star Wars is usually a lot more action and not as much writing. This one, they definitely lean a lot more into the story, into dialogue, communication. It's details, which in a way does slow down the pacing.
The pacing, yeah. Well, I mean, when Rogue One originally came out, I mean, I don't think there was that big of a buzz for it until people got in, because they didn't. I don't think when Rogue One came out, nobody knew what they were dealing with that side Star Wars story. So I don't. It took the reviews of people going to the theaters to see that, to pull everybody in, and then that became a cult following. Oh my God, Rogue One was great. You got to go see this. It could have been just the last 10 minutes when Vader, unleashed holy, what, and that just everybody loved it. But it was a different Star Wars movie than we're used to. So that's why when they were saying they were doing a spinoff about Cassian Andor, I was okay with it, but it was like, well, we just did a movie. Do we need because at that time they said they were doing the 24 episodes. Do we need a 24 episode backstory on Cassian Andor, and how are they going to pull that off?
Especially in the series, when you first meet him, he's not the nicest guy.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Blasting people right off the bat.
First thing you see him, he's in a corner. Some guy helps him out, and he shoots him. It's like, all right, why do we like this guy? Why do we want to find out more of him? Yeah. And in some ways, that's how this series starts off. You meet him. He's on the hunt for his sister, which we'll get into that too. And he kills two guys.
Right off the bat.
Okay.
Yeah, we thought this guy was the good guy. What's he doing?
Yeah. But it does get better. It does get better from there.
Yes.
He
Well, let me ask you this: like with the 12, I'm going to the overall 12 episodes that we have right now. Because of the other characters that were in there, did we really learn anything from Andor? Like, was his character advanced? You know what I mean? Like, because to me, it was more of the side characters that were in there that drew me. Like, I liked Andor's character, whatever, but there was the other side characters that were in the show that were more interesting to me, and I wanted to see their journey, more than Andor's in a way. So I don't know if you had that same kind of experience as I did, but.
Yeah. I would absolutely say that Andor is the device that you follow along, and that makes, it is the main thread that connects everything together. But I am going to say that no, it's everyone else that really makes this interesting. Yeah. Like, for instance, Mon Mothma's story. We again, a character that we know even less than Andor. I want to say, because Andor, we got a whole film. We've only had moments of Mon Mothma.
Mm-hmm.
So now we got we're getting a lot more backstory about her battling the Emperor in the Senate and trying to pull this stuff together. We get
she's trying to balance the two between starting a rebellion and trying to keep out of trouble from the Senate. You know what I mean? She's trying to
right, and then the whole family aspect of her too, and in that which adds a lot more to it. The Saw Gerrera, we get to see more of him, but I think, correct me if I'm wrong, he showed up in Clone Wars?
Yes. It was either Clone Wars or Rebels. He was definitely in one of those.
Yeah. Shouldn't be Rebels. Rebels takes place. No, it could be. I guess it could have been Rebels because Rebels still takes place before Rogue One, right?
I believe so. I'd have to look up my timeline again, but I think so. But
yeah. Anyway, but yes, we get more Saw Gerrera, we get Mon Mothma, we get introduced to new characters with everything that's going on with them. Luthen Rail, who's I find a very fascinating character.
Mm-hmm. Love him. He's awesome. I love him. His character is. He was the one that I loved every time he was on the screen.
I mean, Stellan Skarsgård, I think we said this even in the beginning, that he just brings such a power to the screen, and just you just instantly latch on to him.
Yeah. Even Deidre's character, her arc, how she's hell bent on getting Andor, and how she's stepping on toes in her own company to try to go get him, and and Serial
that Empire side, to kind of sympathize with the bad guy.
Yeah,
a little bit there. Cyril, Cyril Karn as well. He's interesting to watch, and just kind of his progression of he tries to impress everybody, really backfires on him.
Yep.
Ends up living at home with his mother.
Yep. Whoops.
Who looks like she's Bronx Tale type of mother.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
She's in how that pans out, especially where that ends up in the 12th episode.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, it's every Andor's storyline, I think, was definitely the lesser one to follow along until a certain point.
Right. Yes.
And I don't know about for you, but this seems to be following pace with the number of Disney Plus series, especially these longer ones. That episode 10 is, I think, when everything really started.
Mm-hmm.
And again, let me just preface it now. If you haven't watched all 12 episodes, we'll start getting details and stuff about stuff that happened in a lot of the episodes. Not necessarily in order, but throughout the series. So if you haven't watched everything, watch them, finish it up, and come back. If you don't care about spoilers, then keep listening and enjoying along the conversation. And eventually, when you watch it, see if we're right, we're wrong, and let us know on social media.
No. For me though, it was when he, I enjoyed the first few episodes, or 6 episodes, but for me, when it took off and I was really hooked, was when he was arrested and was in jail.
Yes,
that's for me when it I was like, holy crap, that's when I was really synced into this, and I got to watch my episodes. You know what I mean?
Which I think that was 9. 9's when he ends up in jail. 10's when he breaks out of jail, if I remember correctly.
Episode 9. Yeah.
So yeah, and again, that's kind of that
Towards
point that
a
lot of the other I feel, and I could be wrong, but I feel like we've mentioned this before, that it takes 8 episodes or 9 episodes to get to that point that everything that really sinks in, that they're really stretching out the story and how things add up. But yeah, 9 was good. 10 I thought was phenomenal. With the jailbreak.
Yeah.
Andy Serkis did a fantastic job in that. I wasn't expecting him to show up, and then seeing him on there, and again the presence that he brings and the his acting style really just commands the screen. And that was a fantastic piece. But it begs to wonder, during the escape, and I'm not sure if you thought of this as well, that the only way off of there is to swim, that there wasn't a shuttle or something hanging around
Mhm.
that they could have just taken control of.
But I don't know if they saw that coming in because they were flown in, dropped on top of them towers, and then brought straight in. So I don't know if they necessarily knew what was surrounding those towers. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think they could look out through, like when they were marching from the cells to the building, the staging area. I think they could look out because they were, doing the sign language with the other people and the
But
other.
they had to have some idea because they knew about the hydropower.
True. That's true. Yes. But,
So,
at that point, I think they just wanted to get out, and they would rather drown than continue staying in jail.
yeah, and I had a feeling that what they were building was going to link to the after credit scene in the 12th episode. I had a feeling that's what they were working on.
That was the speculation, and I was right and wrong at the same time. Like I thought it was for something else. I don't know if you want to go into it now. Like, I thought it was for the structure, but it wasn't for the structure. It was for the
dish.
Yeah, the dish.
Yeah.
There you go.
I just had a feeling it was part of it. I wasn't sure what part, but I just had a feeling it was something to do. I mean, you're not far off. I mean, that's still part of the structure.
Right, yeah, exactly. I just find it ironic that what he, his arc, you know what I'm saying? He helped find the plans to destroy what eventually killed him at that, and he helped build
what eventually was.
Yeah, he helped build what eventually killed him, and
very tragic, turn of events there. The irony is not lost on, I think, most of the audience about how that all plays out.
Mm-hmm.
But bring it at the same time. But I find interesting is how far along that is. Because I felt that we were a little further out from Rogue One than I guess we are.
So what, you didn't think it was supposed to be as finished as it was?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, I was expecting it to be a little further back because...
kind of look like what it did in Jedi. You know what I mean? Like...
a little closer to that. Yeah. A little more coming together because, correct me if I'm wrong, it's been a little while since I've seen Rogue One, but doesn't Rogue One somewhat open up to them installing the dish? Into the completed dish is put into the Death Star?
I think it did. I would have to, it might have. I would have to jar my memory really quick, but it's been a while since I've seen Rogue One too, but I think you're right.
Because I vastly remember seeing the Victory class Star Destroyers hanging around the thing and the dish getting inserted in, which doesn't seem like we're that far away from that point.
Right, because it was all spread out, and then they just gotta, slice it in. Yeah. I mean, how far back do you think they went? You know what I mean? Like 10 years back? No, I don't think they went that far back.
No, but I was expecting maybe 4 years.
Yeah.
3 or 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, not 9 months or something like that.
Right. Well, they're going to have to fast forward it then, for season 2, it's got to be closer to that.
I knew season 2 was going to be a lot closer to Rogue One. It's going to end pretty much on the precipice point of the point that we find, we first see him.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, that may be the last scene.
Right.
Speculation. I don't know anything.
Well, let me ask you this then, because a lot of the complaints that I've heard and read were that this series wasn't Star Wars enough for them. Did you feel it wasn't Star Wars enough for you?
No, I think it was very much Star Wars.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Star Wars does not need to have lightsabers in it.
Yeah.
And if that's people's complaints, this is another... I'm sure I've said this in past episodes. Star Wars is the galaxy of that Star Wars takes place in is a massive, massive, massive space, area.
Mhm.
And we've only focused in on a very small chunk of it. Even if you go into the expanded stuff like the Clone Wars and Rebels and Resistance and and Mandalorian, even if you add all that into the Skywalker saga of films, you still only got a small chunk of everything else. And not everything is Jedis and bounty hunters. There's the regular people as well. And that's something we really haven't gone to explore that much of it and experience.
Well, their complaints were more or less, we didn't see enough aliens. When they were in the prison, where were all the aliens? Why did they just imprison humans and stuff like that? So, there was a bunch of, that's just people probably just nitpicking and stuff. However, that's what I guess pulled them out of it being Star Wars.
Well, I didn't notice that, and I was a little curious about that as well. Everything's been a lot more humanoid. But if you're on an outer reach planet that is primarily humanoid, then
that's what you're gonna get.
Yeah. That's what's gonna be there.
Yeah.
It's not a heavy spaceport type of planet, so you're not. Like, most obviously, yes, there's a vast variety of different characters because it was a spaceport, so naturally you would get in beings from other planets. This one isn't. It's a scrapyard that the Empire drops off its old, beat-up garbage for the people of the planet to take apart and get repurposed into new garbage. So... when you went off onto other planets, then the fact that there's, again, like the jail is all humanoid. I'm trying to think on the it was very brief, but on the beach when he ran into the stormtroopers, was that all humanoids there, or was there some other?
I think that was mixed. I could be wrong, but I think it was mixed. Yeah, because in his unfortunately, when he went back to go find that stuff, there was an alien sleeping in the bed.
Yeah.
So it was a mix. There was mix there.
Right. And then also during the riot, I forget the character's name, but he's the one with the little elephant nose.
Oh, I know. Yeah, I know. I can't remember his name either. I know who you're talking about.
There was from New Hope, the one that snitched on Skywalker and Solo. One of those in the riot in the episode 12.
Yeah. So now for me, I think it was Star Wars enough. Because we're based on, obviously we're doing the prequel journey of Andor, but you did have your presence of the TIE fighters. You had the Imperial shuttle in there, which was awesome. You had a Star Destroyer, like a predated Star Destroyer with the discs or whatever on it in that one episode. So
yep.
There was enough put in there. There was enough aliens. Whenever they didn't hit us over the head with the aliens, but there were aliens in it that were just fine. You had B2 Emo to play the droid, throughout the series. For me, I felt at home in the Star Wars realm, even though there was no Jedi or Force wielders or anything like that. You had stormtroopers up the yin yang all over the place, and it's good to see that they actually know how to shoot in. Right.
That they actually can hit targets.
They can hit their target.
And it's still the Ralph McQuarrie style of stormtrooper looks. And you also had the Death Troopers.
Yep.
So you had those brought into it, and I think just the presence of the TIE fighters and how people feared them again made them more of a presence.
Yeah, and even I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say I think they suffered that in the film, that oh, it's a stormtrooper. Who cares about them? And oh, it's
Yeah,
a TIE
yeah.
fighter. Oh, who cares about that?
Mhm.
They're gonna get destroyed easily.
Yeah.
You get back to why people feared them because they were just yeah. You learn to fear them.
Hmm.
There was that it just is that presence. Part of the reason why they make that noise is just that psychological that it's coming. It is fast and it will be here before you know it. It's all around. So it's yeah, I think that adds that added to it.
Hmm.
Um, it kind of again brought back why you fear stormtroopers because again they're present and they're not nice people.
Yeah, no, no. And even the Partagaz and all the Imperials, like seeing them together, having their meetings and stuff like that, that brings you into the Star Wars realm. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So there's a bunch there to make you feel at home within the realm without having to beat you upside the head with a lightsaber. You know what I'm saying? So,
right, and that we are getting the ISB group
mhm,
there to kind of it's another angle of the Star Wars um of the Empire that we haven't had that much experience to. We saw them again in Rogue One, but it's not um we don't know that much about them. So now we're getting more about the politics. I love the fact that they're bringing in the politics because that's a heavy storyline of
mhm,
Star Wars and something
yeah,
that we didn't get so much in the sequel trilogies.
sequels. Yeah.
Um was a lot of the political stuff. Even in the original ones, it's mentioned in New Hope, and it's well the Senate's been disbanded. The Emperor controls everything now, and now
Right,
you have the
right.
Emperor as the all president bad guy. You get a lot more of that in the prequel
The
trilogies
prequels.
and also in Clone Wars.
Mhm.
So it's great that because a lot of this is a political chess match that um even in a Bad Batch they were getting they hint at a lot of that.
Mhm.
About what's going on and how did all this become and how did the empire come to be and why is the empire such a big thing and how and why the empire ended up the way it is all this political stuff that we are learning now and we get especially in Andor. I think we're getting a lot more exposed to with the Mon Mothma and the Luthen storylines
Mhm.
about what they're trying to do and how did again how did the resistance, how did the rebels come about. It wasn't just all together, 500 people just randomly showed up at one day on a planet and decided, hey, let's work together and defeat
Mhm.
the empire. No, there's a lot of back channels and um, deal making and who trusts who and who doesn't trust who. It's not too undifferent than in our country how the Revolutionary War started about that you had all these people having secret meetings and coming together to try and do stuff, and then you have this group here in this state and then another state you have another group, and trying to work deals that they see eye to eye and bring everything together to go against um, a larger, more organized force.
Mhm.
So, um, and that's what I've really been taking out of this. Not so much Andor story himself. As fun as some parts of it have been, like we said before, it's everything else
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
has made this quite the compelling story. And they do such a good job of telling you these multiple stories in each episode and what's going on. Um, you're not just following Andor. You're following Andor and how these other stories, all this is going to tie together next season,
Right.
more or less,
Yeah.
possibly. We
Like
hope.
I'm not trying to like compare the two different series, but like with Kenobi, how that played out, it was Kenobi's story. He was the main
Mhm.
guy. He was the main presence. You followed him from start to finish. You know what I'm saying? Vader was in there obviously, but it was more following Kenobi. Whereas
Yep.
this, it's based on Andor, but I find the characters that have been developed more intriguing than the Andor character.
Well, and Mandalorian's just like Obi-Wan, where you followed Din
Right.
and now you got Grogu, so you follow their stories and you get other characters interacting with them.
Right.
But it's not so much about them. You're not really following their stories. It's all Din story and about what happens there. It's not that multi-layered
Right.
and fascinating. That's what makes Andor, I think, stand out
Right.
amongst all the other ones. Has it slowed the storytelling down a lot? Absolutely. I wouldn't be truthful if I didn't say that there were some episodes that I had trouble staying awake during because
Right.
of just how heavy the
The dialogue.
there wasn't any like action or eye candy to just really like get your adrenaline going. It is just a bunch of dialogue going on and people talking and sitting around talking and so it's more of like I don't want to knock some other series like Downton Abbey or something like that, but it's people, talking. It's not a lot of doing. It's
right, but in
figuring things out.
In some ways, in this series, the acting and the writing and the way the lines were delivered are sometimes better than any kind of action scene that you might force
absolutely.
into it. You know what I mean? Like the Luthen, his little speech he gave, even Marva in the when she was a hologram out of the B2 emo unit. When she was giving her speech at the end there.
That was very powerful.
That's what I'm saying. So like I don't know, like it fits Andor. It fits there. You know what I'm saying? Like It's just I would rather. It's well written. So they're sacrificing on the action part, but you're getting the development of the characters and you're getting a better dialogue to move the stuff along. So do you need to be awake to watch the show? Yes.
Absolutely.
It's 12 hours. 12 episodes. You're probably close to 10, 11 hours overall because they're about 45 minutes to an hour long each episode. So it's not a show that you want to watch when you're tired after work. You got to pick, because if you miss something that's said, you may miss it down the road. Like they may reference it later, and you're like, "What was that about?" So that to me is what made the show. It's brilliant. It's awesome. I like it.
Yeah, and they do a lot of things that happen earlier on in the series do have a payoff or a continuing thread through the rest of the season or shows back up later on in the season. So there's a lot of that going on. Things that happen have consequences, and you see. And what's nice is that it's not just okay, these are the bad guys and they show up when convenient, that you actually are following what's going on with the ISB. And they talk about this happened here and that happened there, and you kind of see both ends of it. The budding rebellion, doing something, and then the repercussions on the Empire side. So getting both ends of it, it was a nice touch, and again, just adds more depth and more layers. This is, I hate to say, but probably some of the most in-depth stories that we've gotten out of Star Wars.
Yep. It's definitely probably some of the best written Star Wars we've ever had. Which
so
is
for people to knock it not being Star Wars. Well, it's not, but it is.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not what we're used to. It's not the special effects heavy laden battles and action stuff. No, but it is Star Wars, and it's telling you more about the universe and the characters and how things develop and how things came to be and how we got Luke Skywalker and Princess Leia and everybody in this rebellion against the Empire to bring down the evil Empire, and how the Empire came to be and why there's such a presence and why everyone doesn't like them. And we, without that, it gives much more meaning to all the other things that we've had.
Yep.
Then before it's just like, well, okay, why is this and why is that? Well, now we're finding out why. So it just expands everything and gives everything even more meaning and more purpose.
And I think like Tony Gilroy, like he's not trying to reach out for every demographic age group. You know what I'm saying? Like he's telling his story. If you want to watch it, you can watch it. You know what I mean? It's there. You know, I don't think he's trying. I could see like the younger group may find this a little too slow for them, and they may not want to invest in it because there's not that much action and stuff like that. But me being an older person, it might be more geared towards me because I have the time to sit there and you know, soak this in. You know, so I just don't think Tony Gilroy cares. He's just writing it. This is his Star Wars. He's gonna bang them out. You know,
and it is hard for some people to follow along because of just, again, there isn't, it's not what you're used to, and there's not a lot to get your adrenaline pumping and put you on edge and worry about in that aspect. So I know my wife Kim was saying to me the other day when it came on Thanksgiving Day, the day after Thanksgiving, that it was on Freeform, the first two episodes, because they're not broadcasting that. And she's like, well, what happened with this character? And what happened with that character? What happened with this character? And so trying to explain.
Yeah, gotta watch
it. Like, well, there's this, and then there's that, and you know, I was realizing at that point how much has happened and how diverse and everything has spanned out. So it's, you know, I understand that it's hard for people to get into. Mm-hmm. You know, and I said to my family, it's like, my boys checked out after the first episode because, when you're younger, there's nothing in this for the younger audience.
Yeah,
there's almost nothing in it, and I completely understand. If your younger child can get into the Andor and follow along for all the episodes, good for them. Yeah. Because it's even hard for adults to do that. Mm-hmm. You know, I was trying to say, just stay into the third episode. Things can, you know, really pick up in the third episode, and no one else could do it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, I'm sticking with it. Because there's times it's just like it didn't feel like enough was happening, but when you look back, you realize how much did happen. Mm-hmm. It's definitely one of those hindsight type of deals. You don't realize what's happening at the time, but then when you look back, it's like, oh wow, okay, this and that and that and this and that. So what would, I guess, say be your favorite episode?
That's a good question. That would, hold on. I'm just looking at the list of the episodes. Just to, you know, was the Reckoning, that was, no. Yeah, I don't want to be, I would have to, the Jailbreak episode, probably One Way Out, had to have been.
That's mine too.
Yeah.
The speeches between Andy Serkis and Skarsgård, the ones that they both give, was fantastic. And it just, again, it's not as heavy prose laden as the other ones. It is a little more action going on, but. And something that made me realize in that episode about Andor and his character is that he knows kind of what needs to be done. He understands, okay, this is how things plan out, and he sees the greater picture. He doesn't want any of the credit for it.
Right.
He'd rather explain it to somebody else and let them take the credit and kind of just be there in the background. Than be the one to be the leader. He doesn't want to be the leader. He doesn't want to make the decisions, but he'll pass along. It's like, this is what we need to do. This is how it should work out. This is they only got
like when he told it the Jailbreak, he told Andy Serkis or whatever, it needs to be you. They will listen to you, not me. You know what I mean? So you got to make the announcement or the, yeah.
And he did that back in, I want to say like episode 6, he was doing that as well, where when they're raiding the place, it was no, she needs to be the leader. These guys need to do it.
Mhm.
I'm just here, but
Yeah.
it's you guys. So there's been a couple of instances of him just being, it's not me. You guys figure it all out. Not
Mhm.
I'll be along for it. I'll help out. I'm gonna do my part.
Mhm.
But
I
and
don't wanna
here's
be
my
front and center.
suggestions.
Yeah.
But I'm not your leader.
Yeah. It's fun. It just hit like his arc was like, he doesn't get arrested for the looting of the place. He goes on a beach. He gets
walking
arrested.
along.
Yeah, he's just
You're
walking
hot-
along.
You're
Gets
sweating.
arrested.
You must have been doing something. It's hot outside.
Yeah, exactly. So he gets arrested for doing nothing. Then he goes to jail. He was probably safer in jail but he wanted to get home to see his mother's funeral, but everybody wanted to kill him on his home planet. So it's like
Can't get away from.
Yeah.
And it's just it. He knows that everyone's after him, but he
Yeah.
shows up anyway.
Yeah. But that's what I found interesting with his arc. You know what I mean? It was funny.
Yeah, I was picking that up on too. It's like you don't have a friend in the world.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And yet you're still there.
Yeah. So let's go into Luthen, one of the
Yes.
greatest characters on the show. I want to speculate. I'll speculate, and I know there's a rumor out there, so I'm probably not the first. So I want your opinion. Do you think he is either a Jedi or Force sensitive?
Do I think he could be?
He survived Order 66. I'm just speculating.
Right.
Do you think he could have survived Order 66? And this is him like doing his thing to try to spur on a rebellion.
That somehow he's
as a Jedi in hiding.
Connected with the Force in some way. All things are possible. Would explain why he has a number of Jedi relics in his shop.
Mm-hmm. And how when he was given that wonderful, fantastic speech, how he looked like a Jedi in his robe, and he's sitting, the wind's blowing, and it's,
right, very Jedi-esque.
Jedi-esque, and he had. They all said it's a walking stick, but when he went, I think it was when he was talking to Saul and he was handing out his stuff, he handed what looked like a hilt of a lightsaber. Now, that, there's a different show I listened to that said that, in the descriptive thing, it said it was his walking staff. It wasn't extended, and I'm sitting there going, yeah, I don't know about that. Watch that, because they emphasized showing this thing as he was handing it off.
Right.
So I'm like, I don't know. So
his way to influence people.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't. No, I'd say I'd be surprised if he comes out of it, but I wouldn't say it'd be like it would be completely out of the realm of possibility. I mean, it's quite possible,
Mm-hmm.
but I thought they were intentionally trying to not have.
Was that us assuming, or was that like confirmed that they weren't going to have anything like that? Because Rogue One had Vader in it, you know what I'm saying? And he didn't show, they really didn't emphasize him until like the last 10, 15 minutes of the movie. So it's like, could Luthen be the same thing where somewhere towards the end of season 2, he reveals he's a Jedi, but obviously I don't think he's going to survive.
Yeah, there's a connective thread with Vader to Rogue One, so that somewhat makes sense, especially with how that show ends up, movie ends.
But it's not out of the realm that he could write somebody with a Force ability in it.
Yeah, no, I mean it's not out of the realm of possibility at all.
Yeah, because at the end of season 2, he can say, "Ha, fooled you guys. He's been here the whole time. You guys were crying for a Jedi. Here he's been." You know what I mean?
Right. Um, it- I'm going to say probably not.
Okay.
I'm at this point gonna say I haven't been shown enough to say that he is.
Yeah.
Um, you know, I think it's a lot of people
Wishful thinking on some people. Yeah.
trying to find something that may not necessarily be there.
Be there.
And I'm going to use the perfect example of WandaVision.
Oh God.
Yeah. Everything was Mephisto. Everything up and down was Mephisto is going to be. Look, all the signs are there. Everything lines up. He's absolutely the bad guy at the end,
Mm-hmm.
and
Nope.
not in
Not
it
even close.
whatsoever.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna hold out hope that he is some kind of a force. I don't know if he was a Jedi or whatever, because some kind of force sensitive guy. Just the way that his presence is, how he interacts with people, the subtle hints of stuff. Will I be disappointed if he's not? No, because I still think
I could see that maybe he did made a lot of donations to the FBOJ, the Fraternal Brotherhood of the Jedi Order. He's got one of those placards in his car.
Mhm.
I mean, maybe there is a connection there. Do
Mhm.
I say that was he in the temple and was he one of the Jedi? I don't know about that.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that's not possible.
Right.
It could very much, season 2 could come around, and next thing we know that he is pulling out a lightsaber, or he's
Right.
using the Force on people.
Yeah.
But
No, I'm not saying that I want to see him in like a Jedi battle or anything like that.
No.
You know what I'm saying? Because that would be out of place. For the pace of the show, it would kind of be a little bit out of place.
Right. And I like the fact that we haven't had any of that.
Right. Exactly. But to know, how do you say it? To know that he is without him showing it is kind of cool. He's hiding. You know what I mean? So that would enhance his character even more for me if he was, and he just like totally doesn't use his abilities.
Yeah. I mean, it would explain a lot. But it's something yet to be seen.
Yeah.
And we shall see. I don't think there's enough to say yes yet.
Yeah.
And again, there's a lot of hints there. There's a lot of possibilities, but could we just be grasping at straws?
Yeah.
What would that make that woman that works in his shop too? Would that be a Padawan then?
Mm-hmm.
That's
right.
To continue that discussion.
Right.
Because again, there's more of a connection there than and I'm not talking like a intimate relationship, but there is a interesting dynamic between those two that still hasn't played out fully.
Right.
So we'll see where that ends up as well, because I don't know, there's something about her where they keep dropping hints about her character, like she keeps popping up to remember I'm still here.
Right. Yeah.
And then especially the moments whenever the one person came to the shop looking for Luthen and he was out, but the way that she presented herself.
Yeah. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Very assertive, very firm, did not back down. So there's something about her character that's I feel that we're going to learn more about as season 2 comes about.
And that's probably one of the only characters they really didn't dive into it that much. You know what I'm saying? Out of all the new main characters, she's probably the one they developed the least.
Like, yeah, I think we even got more on Mon Mothma's daughter than we did on her.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
So I'm curious to see how this all plays out. There's a lot, it's obviously this is season one, so it ends perfectly where I want more.
Yeah, well, that was going to be my follow-up question. Did the 12th episode end in a way? Were you satisfied with the way it ended? You know what I mean? Like to
Yes.
lead into a season 2. Yeah, I agree. I agree.
I am definitely satisfied with how this played out, what build up, where we ended, and when season 2 happening. It's like, okay, come on, let's
go.
I don't want to wait another year or 2 years. I want this.
Yeah.
I want season 2. It's done enough for me to keep me interested and engaged. It took a while to get to that point, but overall, season 9, 10, and 12 were fantastic episodes. 11 I think just missed that mark. And then, but you needed everything else to lead up to that point. So, I the way that 12 ended, and where our characters all ended up, I thought was very perfect.
Yeah, it's just unfortunate now. Like, when have you heard when? I know that's in front of cameras now. They're filming season 2, but is there a speculation on when they would release season 2?
Next year. That's all I know.
I'm gonna say, please don't say 2024, because that would stink.
Yeah, no. It says right now that I'm seeing on IMDb that episode 1 will be 2023.
Okay.
When in 2023? I mean, you have quite a lot.
I would assume it'll probably be around the same time, unless there's another show that I don't know that's dropping around the same time next year.
Not that I know of. Let me just check the news end at the moment, but I don't think they've dropped the exact date yet.
Yeah.
Other than it will be potential for next year.
Now, do you think the 45-minute to an hour long episodes helped or hurt or indifferent to the way this show was? Because you know how like Mandalorians are usually like 30 to 35, and then you'd like, oh man, that episode ended too soon. I wanted more. Do you think that this was the right fit for Andor, or do you feel like they could have cut, or maybe, I don't want to dare say make them episodes longer, but what was your opinion on that?
I think for once they felt about right.
Yeah, I agree.
There's a couple that maybe could have been a couple minutes longer, but for the most part, no. I think it definitely feels right in its length, because some of them, I think, if you try to push it longer, would have just
drug it out too long.
Yeah, it would just been way too stretched out. And then other ones, or at the same time, if you tried to make them shorter, you would have lost some key important details. They really did not, I feel, waste their time in the episodes, as far as telling stories and giving you details and giving you bits of information. Like, everything is very purposeful. You're learning everything for a reason. Every word is carefully chosen and crafted. So there's very few as far as throwaway lines. The only thing that I have to say, and maybe we'll get some more of this in season 2, is the whole sister aspect.
The Sisters of Ferrix or whatever.
No, his sister.
Oh, his sister. Oh, yeah, duh. Sorry, I got confused. Yes, because they dropped that in the beginning, in like the very first episode, and they totally went away from that.
And
I
then
guess
his mother,
Barbara told him to stop looking for her and all that, and then he stopped.
the mother said, give up on that, and he instantly did, and then everything else was happening.
Yeah.
But again, I don't think it's a red herring.
No.
And this is what Kim said to me, and the more I'm thinking, at first I'm like, no, that's not right. But the more I'm thinking about it, it's like, is it possible? Is it possible? And again, this is a far stride that Bix is his sister.
Mm.
Because you look at the girl who played his sister on the flashbacks,
Mm-hmm.
and then you look at her, especially at her at the end, whenever she's been tortured and she's it's a lot more worn down. A lot of like physical characteristics, similarities,
Mm-hmm.
which would make it awkward considering that their relationship. But
and he was bent on trying to find her too, to rescue her. So
right,
there could be that connection. Yeah, might be.
The fact that that they're near each other, that there is a connection between each other, between them, and she's always willing to try and help him out.
Right.
And you don't, why is that? Not that I think she knows either.
Mm-hmm. Right, but why would the only pushback I would have on that is why would Marva, want him to not know that was her sister? You know what I mean? That would be the only question I would have.
I don't know, and that's why I'm saying it is a stretch.
Mm-hmm.
But I with how much they paid attention to everything else, like I said, they're not wasting dialogue, they're not wasting things. Everything has got a little connection and a reason and a purpose why. Why is that part thing that you kicked it off with going to be the only thing that you just throw away?
Yeah, because that took a serious backseat to the main storyline.
Right, but that's what got everything going.
Right. Yeah.
If he wasn't out looking for his sister, he would have none of this would have happened.
Exactly. Right. So so all the problem he's going through, at least they could do is show the sister.
Right. Have a sister show up at some point.
There you go.
So and they even go back at some point, talk about the planet that he was founded. They found him on.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they talk about that. So they made some points about that whole backstory of his and where he came from, and they showed the sister, at least who you assume is the sister, and you got enough of that you feel like there should be a payoff at some point.
Yeah. Well, if you want to go with this is a crazy theory too that I've heard. When the K2 asteroid finally, because obviously in Rogue One he had K2S as his.
Yeah. So yep.
So what they were saying is that, which I don't think there's any validity to this whatsoever, but the B2 emo droid somehow they pull his inner whatever essence or whatever how a droid is built and put it into a K2 SO droid, and then that's how he continues on with. You know what I mean? So Emo gets transformed into a K2 SO droid, and then they continue on their adventures onto Rogue One. I mean, that's a little far fetched, but I was like, that would be kind of.
That's a bit of a stretch there, but
that would be kind of cool, though.
I could almost say that there might be some sort of connection there to that theory. If I know you have Fallen Order, and I don't know how far along you into that. If you've run into the K2 droids in that,
no, I haven't, not yet.
But little spoiler, a little heads up on that is that the K2 droids are apparently easily reprogrammed.
Oh, okay.
Or it's not too super complicated to program them because they have the data link on the back of their head.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So is something along that lines out of the realm of possibility that Emo reprograms a K2 droid and that becomes the K2 that we know from Rogue One? Because obviously at some point that droid has to show up, and
Yes,
we know that's going to happen in season 2 because it didn't happen in season 1.
exactly.
And if we're finishing season 2 on the doorstep of Rogue One, where we find out why Cassian was where we first meet him, then obviously K2SO has to show up at some point during that. And it sounds like they've been together for some period of time. So it should happen. It's not going to happen at the end of the season. I would say maybe
I hope
mid-season. It probably won't be the beginning of either. I'd say about mid-season.
Yeah.
That K2SO shows up. And again, complete speculation. Is that's a character I've been looking forward to them showing up. Because he's just really cool. And when they showed up in episode
on the beach, when he showed up, you're like K2, and you're like, no, it's not. He's choking him out.
Episode 8, when he showed up, he's like, oh, here's what's gonna happen, and oh no, that's not happening.
I had to say again, I'm like, that's cool.
It's introducing you to those characters because there's going to be the payoff later.
Yeah.
And hence why I'm saying they did not waste everything. These things are happening for a reason. These characters are showing up for a reason. We're getting introduced to things that they will have a payoff at some point. So the fact that, again, going back to the sister aspect, that seems to be a very strange thing for it to be the only thing that would not get a payoff. Granted, the people that he ended up with on the beach planet that he was spending his time with, let's say, we're not getting a payoff from them either. But you didn't get the focus, and there wasn't anything writing on those people other than maybe they rat them out.
Right.
They could always show up again as well. I doubt that. I doubt that we will see any of them, but we will get, we're going to get the K2 droids. We're going to find out what happens with the ISB and those people, because you have multiple. You have Civil, the main one, but you have the other ones there too. So you have three or four really compelling characters in that group.
Yes.
So you have that aspect going on. You have Mon Mothma's story, and to see the fact that she's marching her daughter out, that she's caving in on that aspect.
Yeah.
The sacrifice for the greater good. I guess that's how she's looking at it. Her husband, which no one trusts him.
No. Exactly.
I mean, he's practically best buds with the enemy.
Yeah.
So it's but he's completely clueless as well. And I think that whole argument that she had with him in the car was completely intentional. She knew that he was going to deny and argue everything, and she knew that the driver would be listening in.
Yeah, she knew he was the mole or whatever, and was going to go run with that info. Yeah.
So she, that whole thing, she planned that whole part out to start layering and covering up for her spending and moving of money to get the to get this rebellion going. Now, who is she funding and helping out? I haven't fully pieced that. I mean, she most of the time goes to Luthen, but Luthen's going to Saw, so there is some sort of chain and connection there.
Well, was she trying to get the money ready to start funding the rebellion? Does that make sense? You know what I mean? Like she doesn't have it now. She's trying to get the funds together, but she needs a secret place to hide that so that it's not being tracked onto her to come back.
I guess that she hasn't handed it over yet, but she has pooled the funds and has it somewhere.
Right.
So, and her sister's involved in that too. To what extent, again, we shall find out.
Yeah, and what was the Luthen? Didn't he say we all made a bond or an agreement or something like that? What's this agreement that they were all, that they all took? What was this?
Right.
This
oath.
The oath. Yeah, that needs to be explained too.
Yeah, and all stuff that we're going to get to and find out. But it's. Yeah, a lot has happened. We've learned a lot, but we still have a lot more to go. And I think season 2 isn't going to be as slow as season 1.
Yeah.
I think we're going to hit the ground running a lot more because, you don't have to explain as much now.
Yeah. You have your core characters developed already and set in place. So now it's,
You're not introducing as many.
Right.
You're gonna still get introduced to new character stuff, but probably not as many. And things will just start moving forward a lot more at a lot better pace now. I mean, acting wise, I think everyone did a fantastic job. Diego Luna did a wonderful job. Kyle Soller, Stellan Skarsgård, Genevieve O'Reilly, all fantastic. So I'm as interested as I was in the first season. Now I'm even more excited for season 2.
Yeah. Do you think we'll see Andy Serkis's character again, or do you think? Because that was kind of like you had this really cool character. He can't swim. And then that was it, and they left his character hanging. Now, do we need to see him? No, but I'm just curious. Do you think we'll see him again?
I was pondering that myself. I'm like, it was a very natural end to this character, his story arc. But at the same time, I think it's strange that if we don't see him again. So, or just, I would love to see him again.
So would I, but I'm just,
I don't think we have to. But I think I would like to. I would definitely like to. I don't think we have to, but I would definitely like to. Now, I was trying to see if I could find spoilers on IMDb as far as contracts go, because it tells you how many episodes someone's in.
Ah, gotcha.
But Diego Luna is the only one that they have a firm 24 episodes in. Everyone else now is 7 or less. So they're only showing you what they did for this season. So you don't know who's showing up for next season.
Yeah, no, all the actors in this one nailed it. There wasn't one actor that I was like, that cringeworthy moment that I keep talking about. Like, they were all spot on. So.
Oh, and I would be amiss to not bring up the fact that episode 11, our friend of the podcast, Mike Quinn, makes an appearance. He's one of the Fisherman brothers. So
was he the voice, or was he the actual in the costume per se?
Puppeteering it, yes.
Nice.
Probably both. But I'm guessing puppeteering, not voicing, because I know, like, at least for Nine Numb, again, he puppeteered, he didn't voice.
Oh, cool.
And then same thing, Yoda, he's right-handed, that he didn't, and he obviously didn't voice, or he stood in for Oz, whenever, But yeah, so my guessing is that no, he didn't voice, because neither of them seem to have an English accent.
Yeah, I know. And I was trying to figure out, because that scene was a little weird. I might have been thrown from the alien language and trying to read the subtitles, but I'm like, they captured them, but then they let them go. Is that because they hated the Empire more than they would the prisoners or something like that. Like, what was their? Yeah, that's what I thought. Because I'm like, I was confused for a half a second there with that.
Well, you think of it, they're fishermen. They strive on getting the fish out of the sea, and here the Empire's put not just one, multiple of these prisons in the sea. Got to be disturbing the fish,
right?
So it is, that's a bigger problem than these two guys who washed up on shore trying to steal the ship. It's like, you know what? We'll fly you there.
Yeah.
Save you the trouble. We can tell you're not the Empire people, idiots.
Right.
So we'll help you out. That was a fun little moment. Yeah, you played the character of Dewey, Dewi. Yep. And Daughters of Ferrex episode number 11. So yeah, that was happy to see him there. Good old Quinny.
That's good.
All right, so let's wrap this up. Unless if there's anything else you wanted to go over first.
No, I think we touched basically everything we needed to.
Yeah, it's just an overview, nothing. Not gonna go episode by episode. I don't think we need there.
No.
So we already discussed our favorite episodes.
Both
agreed on that. It was episode 10. So, what would your score out of 10 for season 1 of Andor on a whole?
On a whole, what did I give the first 3? Remember? Do you have that written down? Sorry.
I don't have those notes in front of me.
Oh, okay. All right, never mind.
All right. Let me check over here. But no, I don't think I have. Oh wait, here I do. We didn't do it. We did by episode at that point, and you gave episode 1 and 2 an 8.5, episode 3 a 9.
Oh wow.
So
it's funny now when you look back at the, given those might have been a little high compared to the episodes that came after that. You know what I mean? But overall, I'd probably give it an 8.5.
Okay. I was floundering a little bit, but I think I'm going with my initial. I'll give it an 8, flat 8. Just because of the slowness of the beginning. Again, not a bad thing, but it did make I could see why people would pull out early on it.
Yes.
And not get fully invested because just how, I don't want to say painfully slow, but unexpectedly
slow. Exactly.
Yeah.
Not that I'm defending it, but based on previous shows that we have seen in the Star Wars realm, again, this was totally different. So we had to get used to what this show is. You know what I'm saying? Like, so
and that's what they kind of said. It was going to be a different type of story. They used a lot of practical sets. They built all those sets. It wasn't CGI'd, and it wasn't the void process, the screen technology. It wasn't any of that, so much of that. It was actual locations and sets and whatnot. I mean, obviously there's CGI, TIE fighters flying around. You're not going to build a TIE fighter and fly there.
Right.
But it's more practical sets than not.
Yeah. Well, I read something, a comment. Somebody said they don't know, after watching this show, they don't know how they can go back to watching a show that was filmed in the volume again. You know what I mean? Just because the practical sets were just so spot on in this, that they, I guess they can tell like the Mandalorian, if that's filmed in the volume, it might take them away from it, a little bit, but I don't know. I'll still watch them all.
No, I'm still down for it all. I think both methods are fantastic. The volume has, come leaps and bounds. In its presentation from the early days of CGI. And it just helps push the envelope of what they can do. Where I think, having the practical sets in some ways does limit you somewhat on what you could do, but at the same time, it is your mind knows.
Yeah.
And
What do you to fast forward to season 2 before we wrap it up? What are you most looking forward in a second season? Like, what if they didn't touch on this? What would that? You know what I mean? Like that would. What are you most looking forward to?
What am I most looking forward to? Luthen and Mon Mothma.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very curious to see Mon Mothma's story arc, where that heads to, and how she gets to be the kind of the head of the rebels. And Luthen, we don't know what becomes of him. We assume he dies. Doesn't mean he does.
Right.
He could just go flying off somewhere, and that's a story for another time.
Exactly. Yep.
So there's a lot of possibility.
Yeah. For me, it's I want to see Luthen's storyline. Obviously, is he a Jedi or not? Let's put a bow on that one. And then the K2SO droid. That I want to see.
Definitely, like I said,
I want to see how they introduce them and how he gets, how they become BFFs. That's what I want to see. That's what I'm most looking
into the servitude of.
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, I look forward to that. And what happens with Bix?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Because again, you make the point to save her. You make the point of put her on that ship with those other characters and flying off. I don't think that's the last I will see of that character either.
Yeah. No.
There's a reason why you keep reminding us about that character.
Mm-hmm.
Because you could have, if she wasn't going to be an important piece, after episode 3, we would have never seen her again.
Do you have any concerns on? I don't think Tony's going to change his way of making this, but do you think any blowback on how season 1 could have been portrayed, being slow and all this stuff like that? Do you think he'll try to change it a little bit to appease the fan base?
I don't think he will do it to appease the fan base. I think, like I said, it will happen naturally because you don't have as much backstory to try and fill in now.
Yeah.
Everything, a lot more stuff is going to be moving forward now.
Mm-hmm.
So no, I don't think he's going to change so much as the natural progression of this storytelling will just keep moving things.
Right. That's what I'm hoping. I hope he just says, nope, this is my story. I'm going to write it the way I want to write it. Deal with it.
Yeah.
That's it. So.
All right. Final thing. Who's your MVP of this story? Of the season?
I don't want to go with the obvious of Luthen. Let's go with Marva, the mom.
Marva, yeah. Good character.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go with Luthen. Sorry.
I was going to say him, but that's the obvious one. Yeah.
Because just how could you not? He's so fantastic.
Yeah.
You only meet him in episode 3, and he like I said, he just takes control. He just Stellan Skarsgård and his performance and the writing and how he delivers the lines and playing that duality character where he's this rough and tumble, rebel trying to get things going against the Empire, but this quaff merchant on Coruscant, he's one of the Coruscant people. Fantastic.
Yeah.
So
can't disagree with you on that.
No. So, and like I said, one of the things I'm looking forward to see how his character plays out in next season. So that's why I give him my MVP.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right. And on that note, Dave, thank you so much.
Mhm.
And let us know what you the listener, join in the conversation. Let us know, and we'll be talking soon.
Thank you, Matt. Always a pleasure.
Always. Thank you again, Dave, to joining us on this discussion of Andor. What did you think of Andor? Please, we want to know. Join the conversation on our Facebook group, facebook.com/WDMagicCast. On Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter, we can be found at WDMagicCast. Also subscribe to our YouTube channel, where you catch the audio version and some other things that I have posted recently on my trips to the park. You can also leave us a voice message, be heard on the show. You will be heard on the show. Leave us a voice message through the Anchor app or Anchor.fm website. Or another version, record a message on your tablet, smartphone, device, computer, whatever you have electronically that records messages, and email it to us at email@wdmagiccast.com. You can also email us any questions or suggestions you may have that you'd like addressed on the show as well. Links to all these can be found in the show notes and on our website, www.wdmagiccast.com. I want to thank you for your time. I know how little time we all have, especially during this busy, crazy holiday season. The fact that we get to spend some of it together means a lot to us over here on the show. We cannot thank you enough. We really appreciate the time that we get to spend together. But please, share out a link on the social networks. Let people know that you're listening and where to find us. Also, please go to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, leave us a rating review. We have all 5-star reviews at the moment. Truly, we feel blessed. Keep them coming. The more, the better. They will do their part to help promote the show as well, because the more people that know about the show, the better it is. Walt believed in a big Disney family, and so do I. Don't forget to subscribe to the show as well. This way you always know when new episodes are posted. And while you're at it, consider becoming a premium subscriber. Truly help the show out. You can do this over at anchor.fm/WDMagicCast/support or find our Patreon page. You can also check out our merchandise shop, which has some great sales going on for the holidays, folks. Lots of cool stuff. Got mugs, sweatshirts, t-shirts, pillows, tote bags, phone cases. My goodness, there's more stuff than that. Check it out. Links to all these are in the show notes as well, and also again on our website. Remember, this show is brought to you by listeners like you. Whatever you're facing out there, whatever troubles, I know the holidays isn't always jolly and merry and happy for everyone. And if that is the case, it's okay to feel that way. It's alright. Sometimes we deal with things in our own way. But also, don't let it overcome you. This too shall pass, and I know that's easy for me to say. But there's someone out there that wants to help you. Help is waiting for you. Just you have to ask for it. Never give up, never give in. Be your own hero. Let the world see how wonderful you really are. Now I'd like to end this week's show with a quote from Walt Disney himself. This is a volatile business of ours. We can ill afford to rest on our laurels, even to pause in retrospect. Time and conditions change so rapidly that we must keep our aim constantly focused on the future. Again, that's Walt Disney. Thank you again for listening, everyone, and I'll see you next time.